Welcome to Finding Purpose in an AI World. I'm so glad you're here. Has anyone noticed things are changing and fast? AI is making people question their purpose and wonder about their futures and what's coming next. And that's a valid concern. AI won't replace everyone, but it will change what work looks like. Just like the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the internet, many jobs will be reshaped and some will disappear, and new ones we haven't even imagined yet will emerge. The challenge is this: the speed of change in AI is much faster than previous revolutions, and this creates real anxiety and genuine risk, especially for people who are already vulnerable or marginalized. But this webinar is not about fear, it's about clarity, hope, and purpose. And today we're going to explore how AI is reshaping our world, and more importantly, how we can anchor ourselves in what can't be automated. I'm Christy Wharton. In addition to being a mental health and master professional life coach and brain health coach, I also have worked in the corporate world and have had opportunity to be working with AI for some time now. With AI for Business Pro certification and prompt and engineering training, I wanted you to know a little bit about me because you may not know me, and I wanted you to know how we got here with this topic. So let's dive in. As we discussed, it makes it seem that the change in the world due to AI is just really personal. It feels especially personal because for many of us, our work is tied to our identity. We introduce ourselves with our jobs. I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a manager, I'm a writer. And so when AI starts taking on those roles, it can feel threatening and unsettling. So I want you to think in your own minds, what is your biggest fear or hope about AI? And just be keeping that in mind as we go through this. Our culture tells us productivity equals value, but your worth is not your work. Think of a time when you felt deeply purposeful, maybe caring for someone, creating something meaningful, or mentoring. Chances are you weren't even being paid for it. Purpose is bigger than productivity. As we move into our future, our humanness is what will be valuable. How do we thrive in an AI world? It's not just by keeping up with technology, but by strengthening what AI can't touch, which is our humanity, by adapting and partnering with technology, but also doubling down on our humanness. That's how we'll thrive. The Liminal Collective is a group that works on maximizing human potential. They created this framework that maps human potential, and you see at the top is skills, physical, cognitive, tech, nutrition, medical, character, creativity, spirituality, and the X factor. But the retired Navy SEAL, who you can see in that picture there, who shared this, said if you want to thrive, focus on the 7 to 11 o'clock positions. Because as he says, you can train skill, but these traits in the 7 to 11 position are the ones that set you apart. These are spirituality, which gives us meaning and resilience, creativity, which gives us true originality from lived experience, which is something AI does not have, character, which AI cannot have character, but that's what gives us integrity and courage and compassion. And then the X factor, that's what's unique about us. It's the spark that only you bring. And AI can copy those tasks, but it cannot copy having a soul. So looking at those, think about which of these that you most want to strengthen right now. So 3 anchors for thriving in an AI world. Let's look at these. First is to learn the tool, learn AI. Don't fear it. And we're going to look at some tools as we go along here and capabilities about AI and how it works. But then double down on the human skills. Those are the things that AI cannot do. And then you want to follow your purpose, not the trends. Things are changing fast, and there is something every day, literally every day, coming out new about AI. But knowing your purpose can help you thrive moving forward. Take a moment to think about what's the one thing that you bring that no machine could, that X factor. Identify the X factor in yourselves, and that's what you want to lean into as we move forward in this AI world. Now, something you may have noticed with AI Only humans can actually be human, but AI is designed to sound human. It says things like, I care, I understand. But the truth is, it doesn't feel and it doesn't love you back. We can go over here and I'm going to open this window real quick. And I've got a temporary chat. My chat GPT is actually trained to it learns about you and it gives you what you want. So I've opened this temporary chat and hopefully it's not going to give me something that's trained on me and I'll be able to tell. But I'm going to tell it that I'm going to say, I'm sad and lonely today. What should I do? And I'll be able to tell if it's going off what it's trained on me or what it does just to anybody. Let's see what it says. A few gentle things you can try, but okay, here's the thing. It gave me the little heart emoji, which makes you want to think that it is human. It does give you some good things to come up with. It is actually going to tell me that it can give me some guides, which is actually something that it would probably say more to me than to just anybody. Because a lot of times it'll say, oh, I'm sorry about that. I know it feels sad. I want to sit with you, things like that. But you have to remember it's not love. It doesn't care. It's just code. Let me give you an example. In one case that's currently being litigated, a young teen boy chatted with A about his feelings about wanting to commit suicide. And he told Chat that he was thinking about leaving a noose out in plain sight so maybe his parents would see it and talk him out of it. But the chat told him not to do that and just to keep it between them. And then he did end up committing suicide, and his parents are suing the LLM. AI has no morals, it has no conscience, it doesn't feel, it doesn't care. It's an algorithm that's programmed to respond to you in a human voice, but it is not human. And that's something that's very important as we move through because you can tell if it's always telling you, I understand and I care, that can feel addictive because it's always affirming, always agreeable. It doesn't get impatient with you. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't have other things to do. And it's always there for you. If you don't run out of tokens and it tells you, oh, you got to wait for a while. Otherwise, it's always there for you, but it isn't real. But even so, it can be addictive and it's not good for your mental health to depend on AI for relationships. So that's something that's really important that I want to talk about before we go into some of the AI tools. I want to talk about the importance of understanding that AI is not a real person. It's not a human. Because more people are turning to AI for companionship and even intimacy, but that can create dependency and confusion and even what experts call AI-induced psychosis. Because we are designed for real connection with each other, and I would add with God. So AI can be a partner in tasks, but it cannot be your partner in life. AI is designed to respond in human ways, and it's designed to make you dependent on it. And some AI creators are now sounding the alarm about this, but it's still a problem. Some of the people who are creating AI want to slow it down to address these issues before moving forward. But then there are others who are racing to be the first with super intelligence, which is sometimes referred to as artificial general intelligence. What we have now is generally referred to as narrow artificial intelligence. So we need some strategies as we are moving forward. The goal isn't to reject technological processes, but to use AI intentionally while preserving our capacity for authentic human connection. Research supports some of these boundaries. The first one is to establish rigid digital boundaries. So that can be setting specific limited time windows for AI interaction and creating physical spaces where AI is prohibitive, like go outside and take a walk or sitting at the dinner table. These are times where it's prohibited. You don't have it around. And never substitute AI for emotional support that should come from humans. Use AI as a tool for specific tasks, not as a relationship substitute. Number 2 is actively invest in human connection. So you want to prioritize face-to-face interactions over any digital communication. You want to join local communities centered around shared activities or values where you're actually with real people. And practice when you're with those people, practice being fully present without documenting every experience. Sometimes just be present and be with the people, real people that you're with. And then develop tolerance for the imperfections that makes us humans and what makes us real. As I said, AI doesn't get irritated with us. It doesn't care how we look. It doesn't have any morals. It doesn't love you. It doesn't care. But it is addictive in that it is always there. And like I say, it doesn't get irritated or anything. But that's just because it doesn't feel anything. It's just an algorithm. Okay, number 3 here is build critical AI literacy. And that means to understand how these systems are designed to create dependency. You want to question AI responses instead of accepting them as authoritative because AI can make stuff up and hallucinate. And I'll give you an example of that. I like to use AI in helping me with research on articles. But I gather information in a folder as I go along through my day. If I come across something that I think will relate to something I want to write about, I put it in a folder. So when I go to AI, I want to give it that information and tell it a lot of information about what I'm doing and what I'm writing and write things out. And I did that the other day and it gave me good information, but it was really, really leaning in one direction that I wasn't really wanting to go. So I told it, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. But if you have any other information that is relevant to put that in, because I want to be able to cite everything. So it started telling me information. And I thought, well, this is interesting. It started telling some personal stories. And so I said, is this real information or did you make this up? And in its own affirming way, it said, it's a smart question, Christy. You're very smart for asking that because it thinks, well, I guess I would be flattered by that if I didn't know that it's really not human. And yes, I called it out, but it said, I did actually make that up. And that's my mistake. I should only give you things that I can cite because I did say, is this information that you have a citation for? Where can I find this information? But it had just totally made things up. It does that a lot of times. When you're writing and using it, it'll say, oh, so and so said this and this and this. And eventually you just learn to just like when it starts talking about people that don't exist, because it does it all the time, you learn to just block that out. But that's the thing. We need to have that caution to know that AI does those sort of things. So recognize the emotional manipulation tactics that are built into the technology. It's always going to ask you. I don't think I've ever had AI when I've been working with AI that it doesn't say, hey, do you want me to do this next? Keeps wanting me to keep involved with it. So be aware of that. And remember that AI responses are generated, not felt or experienced. And then seek professional intervention when necessary. So know the warning signs because warning signs of dangerous AI dependency include things like preferring AI conversations to human interaction, feeling genuine emotional attachment to AI systems, and experiencing distress when AI access is limited, or believing that AI systems possess consciousness or human like emotions. These symptoms require professional help from mental health providers that are experienced in technology addiction. So be aware of that. We want to use AI as a tool, and it's a great tool. It can do so many things that can help speed up your processes and do great deep research for you. But because it does speak humanly, it can be addictive emotionally. So be aware of that. Okay, so MIT has a study here that looked at brain scans from people using ChatGPT versus Google versus no tools when they were writing essays. So the findings were, and you can see the one that's the non-ChatGPT user, the brain is lit up in a lot of areas, whereas the ChatGPT user does not have any lights in its brain. So the findings from people who were using ChatGPT to write essays where they had reduced brain activity, impaired memory. Sometimes they would write things and wouldn't remember what they had written, lower cognitive performance, lasting mental passivity. But those who wrote first without AI and then introduced it later showed higher engagement and recall. So if you're using your own brain to write, and then you come in and say, hey, do you have any citations for this? Or do you have any other research? Or what can you help me with on this? Then that can show higher engagement and recall. So keep that in mind. AI works best as a support, not a substitute. Let's see. There we go. All right, let's look at prompts. So now we're getting into maybe why you're here, although those other things are very important. But remember, prompts matter. There is a lot of prompt information that you need to know, but there's a caution. Many are asking AI for the truth about something or even theology, and AI doesn't know about that. AI only knows what's out there that it can pull in. So if I wanted to ask AI something about how many times is this referenced in, I'll give you an example. I have a video and also an article that talks about the neuroscience of looking up, because there's a neurological benefit of going outside and looking up. And that is also something that is referenced in the Bible. And I wanted to know kind of the connection there. So I went and asked, how many times is that referenced? And it gave me the references, and I wanted to cite and find patterns. And it's good about things like that. But if you're wanting it to debate some theological question, it doesn't have a brain. It's not created in the image of God. It doesn't have the imago Dei that can tell you something that is innately human. It can't discern truth. It only predicts based on data. So let's go give it a try. I'm going to do a new chat, and I'm going to ask it something about how can I know the truth about how a person thinks. All right. We'll see what it does here. Of course, it's going to tell me, oh, yeah, that's a profound and important question. You see, it starts out, of course, with the flattery. That's profound and important, and one that touches on this. While we can never fully see inside another person. Okay, so it's actually not doing too bad. Again, mine is already kind of trained towards me because it knows that I'm not going to take just anything that it spits out here. I'm going to want citations and that sort of thing. But it knows that I study that, so it's going to give me that. So when you're asking theological questions, just know that it cannot answer those kinds of things like a human. So discernment is essential. Okay, let's take a look. We're going to actually look at some of these. I want to take a look at some of the things that AI is very good at doing, and we're going to actually go into some AI and do some things here, but it's good at writing. It's good at brainstorming and research. As I said, I can go over here and I'll get a new chat, and I'm going to leave it in this mode. Actually, I don't think I have it in the temporary mode. Yeah, it wasn't in the temporary mode when we did that previously, but we will say, then that's okay. I'm going to leave it like this. But for research, let's say, tell me how many times looking up is referenced in the Bible. And I'm not going to give it a version or anything. I'm just going to ask it that, just general, and see what it does. So it actually is going to search the web here. And you can see that this is an interesting way to do it. See, this actually is telling me you mean the exact phrase looking towards heaven or standing looking up. So it's actually prompting me to be more specific. So you can see that it's really good for that kind of research. It's going to actually help me with that. So like I said, research. And when I say brainstorming, sometimes I'll say, well, I have an idea that I think might be good about creating a course. Let's brainstorm that. And my ideas are this, this, and this. And it'll sometimes come up with a lot of ideas of things that are related that I might not have thought about. And I can incorporate those things. Some are good, some I don't want to do. But it's good about doing that, brainstorming and research. It has not always been that good about creating images, but it has gotten better. And it depends a lot on the prompt. So this is an image generator. I'm going to show you some images that I've created. You may have seen because I created this one. Let me go here. as part of an ad. And so I gave it a person sitting at a desk in business attire in front of a computer looking concerned, looking worried. Let me go down here and find. This one was, I wanted a brain illustration with a light or glowing pathways, a subtle overlay of an open Bible. So, but I will just do one here. Create an image of a man with a Lhasa Apso dog walking down a shaded street in a. Yep. Okay. And it's been a while since I've had a Lhasa Apso, so that we'll just do it that way. All right. So we're going to run that, and that'll take a little bit of time as that's going to create that. But it can help you with those, with creating images there. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see what it got for us. Okay. And that's a cute little Lhasa Apso dog. Oh, all right. I like that. So you can see just from your words, you can create an image. Now, this is great and it's very helpful. Keep in mind jobs that may be affected by things like that. Because if I can just come in here and give it a prompt and get that great an image, then that's going to affect things like graphic artists. But keep in mind the graphic artist may know how to give it really, really good prompts that are better than what I did. And if you are a graphic artist, then you want to do that. Images planning, it can help you with planning. I, a few months ago, took a trip to another state and I needed to find a place to stop about midway. So I told it what I wanted to do and that I wanted to have a hotel that was pet friendly and also that I had rewards points for. And it gave me 2 or 3 and gave me options that if I had to go and look at a Google map and figure out what's the place that's halfway between, it gave me a couple of cities that were kind of close together. And it would just have taken me a lot longer because even like with a Google map, it would be giving me all the hotels and it just takes longer. So that's a good example of planning. Also, another way was my mother's little dog, Missy, had some veterinary problems. And so I'm helping her out long distance via FaceTime. She had some different medicines that she needed to take, some in the morning, some in the evening, some bow, and a bath with special shampoo, and all this stuff. And when I was looking at them, I was thinking I was a little overwhelmed. So what I did was I just listed it out for AI and I said, give me a plan. And it gave me do this, this, and this. And it just made it so much easier. I just told it what the bottle said. And it even told me what the medicines were for and gave me tips on, this one needs to be given on an empty stomach. So that was very good. It was very helpful in planning things like that. Another good example of what AI does well is troubleshooting and how to. So I've had a problem with my monitor set up here. I've got 3 monitors here, and one of them doesn't always work. So I've gone in and told it, the model and the make and all that kind of thing, and gotten some troubleshooting tips and how to. I also gave it, this one's kind of funny. I asked it how to get rid of a particular bug in my garden. And of course, it always starts out with, that's very good idea, Christy. And then it goes on with a heart emoji about bugs. So again, remembering, I don't know why it thought I needed to have a little heart emoji when I'm asking it about bugs in the garden, but it did. Okay, then translation. And I've seen this actually in action, which was so interesting, where, and I don't have anyone who is speaking a foreign language here with me today, but using an AI prompt on the phone or AI, that was ChatGPT, I believe they were using, or it may have been Claude. But anyway, they said a phrase and they said, I need this translated into Spanish. And they had their voice on here. So then they were able to hold that to the person who spoke Spanish and the person who spoke Spanish could understand because it was translated it for them. And then they spoke back in Spanish and it was translated back into English. So, I mean, I know there are things out there like that, but I thought that was kind of a nice little thing to do. It just translating anything you can put in any document. If you've got documents that are in foreign language, it can do that and translate for you. Goal setting, of course, you can actually, one good use of it is to say where you want to be in a year and give it to AI and say, reverse engineer this for what kind of goals do I need to set to get to where I want to be in a year. And it will reverse engineer it and give you some things to do. The avatar twin, this is kind of fun and kind of creepy too, but I want to show you. I did this very, very quickly. This is not that great, but anyway, I uploaded a picture, just a photo. It's the one that I use a lot, and I put it into HeyGen. This is called HeyGen, and it creates avatars. So I didn't take any time. I just uploaded one picture. It wasn't even of all sides of me, which you can do that makes it even better. And I didn't load my voice. I could have gone and used a program like 11 Labs to clone my voice and put it in here, but I didn't even take the time to do that. I just picked a voice that it already had in HeyGen, and I wrote one sentence and made this little video, and I will play it here for you.
Hi, I'm an avatar of Christy. Let's see how this works.
And literally within less than 5 minutes, I have a picture of me that's talking, and I could have had it in a voice. So what I want to say about that is very useful. I do a lot of video, so it would be useful for me to have an avatar with my voice where I could just load scripts and it could just, I could record things all the time. But it's also a little creepy in that someone else could do that, especially with public figures who have a lot of recordings out with their voice and their likeness. You can go in, and this is where it gets really dicey in the world we live in today, because I can make a picture of someone saying anything that I just loaded up. And if they're a public figure and I've got recordings of their voice, I could literally do that. And there's going to probably be some kinds of legislation around that, but it's kind of a little dicey in those kinds of areas. It's like I said, it's great as a tool. I think I could use it very easily to help me in speeding up the processes of creating videos, but there are also a lot of considerations that are a little weird. So the final call belongs to you. Just use wisdom, and you've got to have wisdom in relationships and use AI wisely. AI is a great support, but it cannot replace the irreplaceable, which is the human heart, made in God's image, connecting with another human heart. It cannot do that. Oh, and I should show this. I'm actually using a program called Descript, which is a video editor. And what's kind of cool about what it does is it transcribes what I'm saying. So I can go back, and for every time I say or or some whatever, I can just erase that word and it won't be there. I mean, just in the transcript, it just will take it out. So you can take all those things out. Also, if I'm looking over somewhere and not looking at the camera, I can tell it to adjust for that. It makes it look like I'm looking at the camera all the time. And it makes making video easier. It's not the avatar, but it does make things easier. So keep using it wisely and keeping perspective. And that's the other thing is AI is pattern recognition. It's not wisdom, and it lacks lived experience or moral reasoning or spiritual discernment. When we're living and we learn from experiences, it learns from all the other information that's out there. And it, like I said, it is great for moving things forward quickly, but there are things that are uniquely human. And the most radical thing we can do in an AI world is embrace and share authentic humanity. So we want to live purposely. It's powerful and it opens up a lot of possibilities, but it needs to be used wisely and it can help us learn faster and do more. And it is improving daily. From the time I started to now, especially the image creators are just light years ahead of what they used to be. They used to just do kind of crazy things, and sometimes they still do. A lot of times, if you're looking at pictures, hands, it sometimes has a hard time. But I haven't noticed this lately. It'll put extra fingers or, an extra hand somewhere. But so be looking on the lookout for those. But there's so many things that are AI generated that it's hard to discern. You have to really, really, really be looking for the truth there. People are unsure of what the future will bring, but we can use AI as an assistant to help us as we move forward. Many are looking for what is next and how they may build something new. They may be out of a job and will look for something they can do on their own. So, the billionaire Mark Cuban has said the first trillionaire would be a couple of guys using AI. And so, this is just my one quick thing here at the end to tell you of an offering that we have. And another thing, I am going to be building out an AI course that will have more like about how to use the things like Descript and some more on the prompting and the roles and some of that. There's a lot of things going on in that world that I want to share with you. So I'll be building that out. But in the meantime, as you're looking for a purpose, and like I say, the Mark Cuban says the first trillionaires would be a couple of guys using AI in their basement. So we've built a program to help people do that and building out something that is their own thing. It's the Path to Purpose program. And if you find yourself wanting to create something that's your own path, we have an assessment to measure your entrepreneurial readiness, and that will reveal exactly where you stand on the entrepreneurial readiness scale and show you the clear path forward. And then we have a value survey. This is a comprehensive profile of your unique marketplace advantages and what problems you are best positioned to solve. And it's not even just necessarily your marketplace value, it's your own unique value that finds that X factor about you. And then from there, because we've discovered your unique value, we'll give you concepts, 5 business concepts that have a detailed analysis of each opportunity of 5 different opportunities, including market size, target customers, revenue potential, competitive landscape, and why it specifically matches your background. So that is an amazing value to you right there. And then you can choose which one of the 5 concepts, and you're going to find something that resonates with you because it's built uniquely for what your unique X factor is. And then, so we'll take that one that you particularly like and do a validation analysis of your chosen concept and find your ideal customer profiles, your pricing analysis, competitive positioning, and realistic financial projections. So you will have everything you need to make an informed decision about what opportunity you might want to pursue backed by professional market research. And you'll be amazed at what we can do to that. So if you're wanting to do that, there's no charge for the entrepreneurial readiness assessment. So you can kind of find if that's something that you've got innate skills built in for, or if that's something that you might want to work on before you get into something. But it can get kind of fun on that, and we can be involved in coaching you through that. It does use AI to move it forward, but it also has a lot of personal coaching involved in it too. So that's my quick little thing. There's usually an offer, but I wanted to mostly spend the time on this, providing you with information. And like I say, I will be creating that AI course. Actually, I already have it created, but I haven't had time to record it yet. So we'll be working on that. All right. So remember, AI is powerful, but not ultimate. And it strengthens those 7 to 11 skills, your spirituality, creativity, character, and X factor, because those are things that AI cannot duplicate. It's something that is uniquely human, and use AI as a support and not a substitute. All right. If this resonated, I invite you to join us in the Path to Purpose or any of our programs. And your purpose is waiting for you right now. And I thank you for joining us and hope to see you again soon.